Alright, YouTube, the 468 is home. It is back in the machine shop. We went and picked it up, I believe it was Thursday. We did make some changes to it, and I'll go over them real quick. First change we did is he went through 3 different eagle cranks and would have had to add quite a bit of weight to them. He didn't like it. Machine shop didn't care for it. So I just said, screw it. And at the same time we were going through that debacle, there was an issue worried about boost and the pistons that I had. There's 2 different levels of forgings on pistons, and we ended up calling SRP/JE, talked to them. They put us in a piston that would work. It's actually a JE piston. It's a Pro Series piston. It increased our dome from 23 to 26, which jumped our compression from 9/8 to 1 to 10/1 to 1, which is still close to where we want to be. I wanted to stay 10 to 1 or less. I'm probably not going to run this on pump gas anyway, but I can if I wanted to. The crank, we ended up going with a Cali's crank. It's a Magnum internal balance. And actually all he had to do on this one was remove a little weight. I changed the lifters to the full race version hydraulic rollers from Howard's instead of what they call their max effort anti-pump up lifter. And that came about after talking to them when we were getting the pressures and everything, when we had the issue with the valve springs being too much pressure, and fixed that issue with Flowtech, which they were absolutely outstanding as far as their customer service. I think I said that in an earlier video. That lady was so on top of it. All the push rods are 3/8 one piece. All the guide plates have been aligned. It's balanced, of course. All King, the best bearings King makes is what we put in it. Everything's studded ARP studs. I think they're like they're chromoly. They're like the L19 or something like that alloy. They're 260 or 290,000 psi studs through the whole motor. Of course, it's still got the Howard's billet double roller in it. The cam's been degreed in. The cam's a Howard's hydraulic roller. It is a 297 308 duration, 640 lift on a 114+4 load separation, and it's been degreed in. So 114, you know, it still says it comes in at 3,000 RPM. Idle characteristic on it, they told me, is what they call a fair idle, is what this cam will have. So it's not going to have the rumpity like everybody seems to like. Rumpity ain't always the right cam to make horsepower. So last I know, short lobe center, 107, 106, 108. And if you want to boost them, you can boost anything, but you're going to be blowing all your boost out the exhaust. Brass free plugs, melodon pan. There's a turbo oil turns. There's one on each side. There's the back. Everything. It's a 73 454 block. We did splay the mains. It is now a 4-bolt block. It's got melodon billet caps on it. I think he put the billet caps on it. I'd have to look at the paper, but I'm pretty sure that's what we talked about. Just go ahead and do it. Yes, it has a stud girdle on it. And before anybody says you don't need a stud girdle with a hydraulic cam, okay, I'll argue that point. And here's why. When you start getting into higher lift, it puts more stress on your rocker stud. You have a softer metal right here, okay? With aluminum, softer than steel. Most aluminum heads, your rocker stud goes into the water jacket, okay, which means you have to use thread sealant. You start walking that around, you start loosening them threads, bingo, you have a water leak. I run these, when I go over a certain amount of lift, I just put a stud girdle on it. I don't care if it's a hydraulic, a solid, or what. It's just cheap insurance. These are the Howard's Professional. They were $266. $266 now, or a fucked up set of heads and problems down the road. You can take your choice. You can agree with me or not agree with me. That's up to you, but this is my engine. I did it my way. So that's it. Yes, the rockers, you can see them. You probably can tell by looking at them. They are a Summit roller rocker. I have used these on countless engines. I have never had an issue with them. I have zinged the shit out of them. I have beat on them, put a lot of miles on them, a lot of hard miles on them. I like them for one reason. One, they work, they hold up, they don't fall apart, and they're quiet. They make no noise at all. They are completely silent. You'd swear to God it was an OE rocker and a stock motor running. They're whisper quiet. Of course, we got the valve spring issues took care of, but that's it. And I did have my little TP Mr. Gasket El Chromo block off. So I forgot to get bolts for that. Meladon, you guys need to restructure your oil pan bolts, because if you use the real nice one-piece Velcro pan gasket, your bolts aren't long enough. So had to buy new stainless bolts to put in the oil pan. And your timing cover bolts won't work with aluminum timing cover either, and it says aluminum or steel on it. We had to get stainless socket head bolts also for the timing cover. So new bolts I bought, neither one of them would work. But that's it. And I love the magnetic drain plug on that, because you can take it out and stick it to the pan when you change oil. I wish OEM guys would think of that. Plus it catches a bunch of crap, because it's going to shed some sparkly stuff when it gets first run. But there it is in all of its magnificent beauty. I think turned out nice. Should make some power. Now let's figure out what I'm going to put it in. Could it end up in the S10? There's always a chance it could end up in anything. Hell, it could end up in the wife's El Camino, because she really likes it. But it's not going in the El Camino. So it's either going to end up in one of three vehicles. My son's 93, his 93, the S10, or a 67 short bed Chevy pickup. One of them. The 540 is going to go in one, this is going to go in one, and the old motor out of the S10 is going to go in one, which it's right now setting resident in my son's 93, getting the TCI tranny behind it. So, and that engine, I'll make a video, that engine's getting a set of 290cc, 112cc chambered Flowtech heads put on it, and we're getting rid of the 820s. Because I've heated coiled 3 holes in the intake in those heads, and we noticed when we set the engine in, one of them cracked right here around this, on this side where that bolt goes in, and we had it, I repaired it. I went in there and cleaned all that and attempted to weld it back in, and now it looks like it's trying to crack again. So I've had issues with those 820 heads with bolt holes stripping in them, and we're going to pull them off and put a set of these on, provided these work out alright. But there it is. It's home. It's done. Now it's build everything else up on it and shove it in something and make noise. But quick video about it. It's home. It's done. Later on, everybody.